All right. Let's see how this works. All right. Hello and welcome to the Black Tower. I'm your host, your guide, your brother, the Sorcerer Armonasur. I realize it has been a while since I've done. Hey, Patchwork. It's been a while since I've done a video on the Simon Necronomicon. However, before I get started, let me go into just a little bit of a spiel here real quick. Alright, so here lately there have been a lot of posting things about ancestors and so forth and so on. And earlier I caught a live video from the Damned podcast with Dan Updike. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out sometime. And it was about ancestors, so forth and so on. And about walkthroughs, his video was. Or walk-ins, pardon me. So that's a whole nother thing. But for tonight, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go over ancestry in the Simon Necronomicon. In this day and age, we look at those who have died, our loved ones, and so forth and so on, and we refer to them as as our loved ones and so forth and so on, and they're the dead and what have you. And so when we think ancestors, we think older. Where the thing is that even in this day and age and in this time, the dead are the dead. And in Sumeria, they refer to the dead as the GIDIM. Now sometimes, now way back when they used to have a thing where they would actually honor the dead, and they would actually give offerings, so forth and so on, like how we lay flowers and stuff at gravestones. Well, they had their own thing. But now how can we, as practitioners of the Simon Necronomicon, how can we apply, practices using the Simon Necronomicon? To do so, the very first thing you're going to need is a Duravinder, which is just a shattered bowl of sages. I brought mine. It doesn't look fancy or pretty. See, it cracked, broke. And symbols that I used for mine. Most important was the aura in 2 halves. That was the most important thing. Now, the reason why is because the broken star, so it's the 5-point star cut in half, 2 parts, is the sign of the gate of the mountain of Kur, of the underworld, and so forth and so on. This is where Kur, Kutha, Kutuleth, this is where they abide. This is where Martu, Mataru, and Marutuk are also. This is earth and water. Now, for any time that we're talking about, going to be working with the GIDIM, our loved ones that have died and passed on, including our ancestors, because this isn't the first incarnation we've had, and it's not, and for some of us it may not be our last. So in essence, we're honoring not just the spirit of who we are now, but we're also honoring the spirit of ourselves of the future when we come back in another form, if we do. And we're also honoring the personality or the person that we were way back when, as well as other practitioners and blood lineage, like for example, your family, you think of your family line. It's the same thing. Well, these ancestors and spirits are just as powerful and effective today as they were, thousands of years ago. How many have had experiences where the dead are walking in their home or something like that, or they're visited by the dead, or they can sense them, feel them? These are your ancestors reaching out to you. Now, in today's day and age, what they do is, they set up a little devotional altar for, honoring the dead. That's perfect. Go for it. But tonight, I'm going to be showing you how we're going to do this from a Necronomicon point of view. And we're going to use just the stuff in the Necronomicon, because everything and anything you'd ever want to know about how to work magic is in the book. It really is. But I'm going to try to piece this together for you. All right. So, first things first, you're going to need bread. You're going to need 3 squares of bread. You're going to need some salt and some honey. Now I'll get into all that in just a second. The very first thing that you're going to want to do is turn to page 99. Oh, y'all handy dandy Simon Necronomicon. That's right, bitches. Break out your books. All right. So we're going to turn to that one. It says the Anushu Bamgiga Su Kisha Giga Galshagda Sisi Amaradia. And you want to go through there. Now, first things first, even before that. So make your Duravander, and what you want to do is you can put, if you're afraid that the bowl will crack from heat or, whatever, all you need is some like little small fireproof container inside it. Okay? Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be lighting a candle inside it, or a flame or a fire. Now you're going to need a piece of bread, and you're going to have to sprinkle some salt on it. And that's when you go to page 99 of the Simon Necronomicon, do the Anushu Bam Giga Psu Kisha Giga. Now what that's going to do is banish and cleanse and totally negate all the energies in the area that we're going to be doing this working in. Now why is that important? Well, let's put it this way. You definitely want to be clearing your space, because you don't need this energy, that energy, this energy, that energy. Like, for example, I do magic in my living room area here. Well, I'm constantly having to do the Anushu because I do from one type of working to another type of working. And you don't want to mix the energies. Not for this. Now, you're going to want to be facing west. So, if you have like a coffee table or, like a little dinner table, just something, that's portable, you can do this. Set it facing west. Put your Duravander up on it. If you haven't, just get you a stone bowl, just a plain stone bowl, and just crack it, whatever method you have to. If it's just got a crack in it, perfect. That's what I tried to do with mine. That didn't quite work out. That's neither here nor there. But anyway, so like I said, you're going to need 2 small squares of bread, some salt, and some honey. And you're going to need your Duravander. You're going to need a couple of tea lights, probably about, I don't know, 7's a good number. It really is. Hey, Ender. But anyway, so you want to go with 7 tea lights, and you're going to want to put one of the tea lights in your Duravander, or something that you can set a small fire in, because it doesn't matter if you use a candle or if you just, you have a cauldron, and you can literally like make witch's fire or shaman's fire, which is just at least 70 to 90 proof rubbing alcohol mixed with a little bit, with about a teaspoon or so of Epsom salt, just plain regular Epsom salt, and it'll create the blue flame, and it should last if you do it right. Play with it a little while to see how long it burns. It burns really hot though, I warn you now. So, at any rate, so just be careful. You're not just going to be like grabbing hold of it. It gets pretty hot. So anyway, you're going to have something that you can build a fire within the Duravander, because this is very important. Like I said, facing west. You're going to do the Anushu Bamgigapsu spell on page 99. That's going to cleanse and negate all the energy in the area. It's also another thing that's also equally as effective to work is the, give me 1 minute while I find it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so give me 1 minute while I find it. It's the parts of the soul where you go down through each one of the chakras. Doing the bright one of the heavens, wise Ishtar, mistress of the gods, whose yes is truly yes. At each one, purify yourself, and then do the Anushu. Doesn't really matter what order you do it, just as long as you do it. Any rate, so once you've got this set up, you're gonna proceed as if you're doing your regular ritual working. Okay, you're gonna call the 4 quarters according to the book, just the way it gave. Remember calling each one at their place. But here's the thing: we're gonna be starting in the west, and we want to go counterclockwise. Now, there's a reason why, because it's Widdershins, and because we're working with the telluric currents of earth and water. So, we're going to have to go counterclockwise. So we'd start in the west. So do the conjuration of the west gate, then the south gate, then the east gate, and then the north gate, coming back to the west. This is all keeping in with the flow of energy, because you're trying to build the magical space. and you're building up the energy and keeping it there. So once you've done this and you've done the calling, light a candle. For the Anushub and Gigapsu, have lit a tea light. Do the conjuration of the fire god first, then do the Anushub, and that way when you give the bread and salt, hold it over the fire. Oh, you're welcome, Andrew. That way, when you go and you hold the bread and the salt over the flame, and it heats it, warms it, or whatever. If you built a fire, you can set it down off in it. If not, holding it over till it's too hot to hold, and then set it down on the inside of the dur of Endur. Okay. Now, what this is going to do is this is the offering for the spirit of your home. They never explain that about the Anushu, because it's a cleansing, negating thing. But what it does is it employs the use of the spirit of the land that you're working in, or your home, or something like that. And you don't have to have an altar to your house, fairy or elf or whatever spirit that you got. But all places have spirits that actually act as guardians for it, including homes. So anyway, so now that we've done that, and you've called the fire god, you did the Anushu, gave your bread and salt offering, and you've done the 4 quarters starting from west, south, east, north, come back through. You're going to do the crowning, which is the part right after the 4 gates. Okay. Now the next thing is that when you come back and you're facing the west, what you need to do is center and focus. Feel all 4 of the angles that you've called. Yeah. Well, that's good. Cast a double circle, not bad at all. But once you've done this, what you want to do is you want to be facing west, center and focus. You want to trace the aura, or that which is the 5-point star, in the west. See it glowing with a white and blue heat and cold at the same time. And then you want to take both your hands, holding like a triangle like this, and you want to set it over the dead center of the star, and you want to, with might, pull it apart. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to open the way. It's going to open the gate to the underworld, because the gate to the underworld is the broken star. And I know I've said this before in posts, and videos and stuff, but this is for working with the GIDIM. So I get to go through all this all over again. Yay! It's so fun. All right. Now the very next thing that you want to do is turn to page 199 to 201. 199 to 200. It's called the Hymn to the Ancient Ones. As far as time, like when you want to actually do this, you can refer to the gates of the Necronomicon, and it'll give you the time for when the great bear hangs from its tail. You can use that. That is a perfect time. It really is. As long as it's in the middle of the night, as long as it's after the sun is set, because we're dealing with darkness, so forth and so on, because we're keeping our correspondences in line with one another. And then, as if singing, or just, like filled with a spirit of just power, we give the hymn to the ancient ones. Now, what this is about to do is, like the Anushub negated all the energy, the hymn to the ancient ones is going to charge the ritual area. Okay, not that the 4 elemental quarters and everything else ain't powerful enough, but this is going to actually, after you've cast the star and broke it in half, this is going to charge and empower it with the energies of the underworld and the otherworld. So they are laying down the great old ones, the bolts have fallen. And you would go through that entire thing, going to the end where it says, to the most ancient gods, Ia mashmashti kakamu selah. And that acts like a ceiling that holds the energies in one place. And what that'll do is that'll keep the vibration right there just the way it is. Now, that's that one. Now, the very next thing, give me just 1 minute, y'all. I got little bitty slips of paper trying to keep up with my little divisions. It's so much fun. Woo. I love this, but I thought this would be important to do. Now, you will notice that on 199 and 200, that, the hymn to the ancient ones, right? Well, on page 198, you will see a great temple was built and blah, 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 and it comes down. And it says right here, this, the line or two before it gets to the actual calling. And the name of the goddess is no more known, as she maketh the infants restless and to cry. So the reason for the pouring of honey over the sacred bread, for it is written. Well, now here's the thing: you're supposed to recite this next part. This is where you're about to take the second piece of bread that you have. You're gonna pour some honey over it, and as in sacred, reverent duty, as part of the magical rite, you're going to place this over the same fire as the candle or fire that you used for the fire god. And you're going to quote this: bread of the cult of the dead in its place I eat, and the court prepared water of the cult of the dead in its place I drink. I forgot about that. You are going to need a small glass of water. So apologize about that. A queen am I, who has become estranged to the cities, she that comes from the lowlands, and a sunken boat am I. I am the virgin goddess, hostile to my city, a stranger in my streets. Musigamina, Urumu Barme, and Sulami, Gerame Ain, and with power and authority. O Spirit, who understandeth thee, who comprehendeth thee, and set the bread down and place the water there. Now, what this calling is for, and if you read the paragraph above it, it talks about the forgotten goddess. Now, who is the forgotten goddess? No more or no less than Ereshkigal. So this is her actual conjuration, and it's important that you give her offering first. Now, the Anushub, I know you gave an offering there, but it's not the same thing. You have to give her offering before you begin to tinker or work through the underworld or do any of this. The reason why is because it's like, you wouldn't come into a kingdom and start commanding people to do shit when they have a king. No, what would you do? You'd go find the king or the queen, whoever the ruler is, and you would, seek audience with them. Well, this is seeking audience. So this is what you're doing. And in so doing, you showed her respect that, you're calling upon the denizens of her realm. And then we want to go to, give me 1 second. Oh, sweet, I've lost another page. I love when that happens. Thankfully, I remember most of it, but I want to get this correct. All right, so on page 195, and this is the conjuration of the dead god. Now, this is when you need to make sure that you have a candle burning in your agama in your Duravinder, which you should know that by now. But this next conjuration is the most important part, because you gave Ereshkigal an offering. This is kind of like, please let me do what I got to do. I need to talk to some of your people. And so this kind of like bypasses her, because you remember the curse if you did the descent of a knot, that when you come to the underworld, that, the dead shall rise and overtake the living. Well, this offering is to appease her so that this does not occur. And that's according to the book. Anyway, so it says, may Namtar open my eyes that I may see. May Namtar open my ears that I may hear. May Namtar open my nose that I may sense his approach. May Namtar open my mouth that my voice will be heard to the far reaches of the earth. May Namtar strengthen my right hand that I shall be strong to keep the dead under my power, under my very power. Now, why is this so important? Because the dead, GIDIM, we're going to be calling on them. We're going to be calling upon our ancestors to come stay and become a part of, of what we do, because you have to have a sacred place inside your heart for those who come before us that have paved the way, and also of our loved ones in our bloodline, our lineage. So then it goes on to 196 and 197. I conjure thee, O ancestors of the gods. And it goes all the way down. I'm just making sure that there's no... I summon thee, creatures of the waste, by the rights of the waste. I summon thee, creatures of pain, by the words of pain, by the 4 square pillars of earth that support the sky. May they stand fast against them that desire to harm me. And this is towards the bottom. And here's where it's important. I evoke thee from the resting place in the bowels of the earth. This is Ganzir as Mataru, because see, you need to understand, not just say these words, you need to understand where you're calling the spirits from, which is also why I gave you the proper hymn to the ancient ones. The one on the very next page, page 200 and 201, is for something completely different. If you used it for this one right here, holy crap, man, that is a mess I wouldn't want to clean up. So anyway, so you go down through there, and you say that may the dead rise and smell the incense. What incense? Cool. The bread and the honey are incense. You can use what is it? Dark, heavy incenses, earth-like incenses. You can use patchouli, because that is also an incense that represents the ancestors and the dead. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, now after you have said that, after you did that, may the dead rise and smell the incense. Give me just 1 minute. I actually didn't write it down. But when you say that, do you remember when we were working, when we were calling upon one of the 50, we say Zikia Kampa, Zidingir, Zikia Kampa, Ziana Kampa, Zidingir, that little thing? Well, this is a little bit different because we're working with the underworld. So as soon as you get done saying may the dead rise and smell the incense. Zikuta Kampa, Zimataru Kampa, Zidingir Kutha Kampa, Zidingir Mataru Kampa. Means spirit of the graves, remember? Spirit of the seas, remember? Spirit God of the graves, remember? Spirit God of the seas, remember? This is very important because you need to be able to know that you're calling upon the right forces and right powers. Once again, this has everything in the world to do with energy signatures, because you're trying to connect, you're trying to be precise and exact in what you're connecting with. This book, for all the seals and symbols it gave in it, sometimes there just aren't enough for some of the things that are in it. However, it's also like they said, these and more you shall get to know. Well, you have to work through the book, and the spirits will literally give you their seals, sigil, symbols, stuff like that. So you got to kind of stick with it. So that was the most important thing, was the 190, 195, 196, 197, the Namtar thing, because you're arming yourself, basically. By giving Ereshkigal the offering, you've armored yourself, you've protected yourself, you make sure there's not going to be a negative backlash. Doing the 195 to 197, what you've done is you've empowered yourself to be able to command and control the dead. Very important. Now, give me 1 second. Now, the next thing that you do after that is you would sit there, quiet contemplation, after you gave that and did the Z Kutha Kampa, Z Mataru Kampa, Z Dingir, Kutha Kampa, Z Dingir, Mataru Kampa. That seals that. Now, the next thing you want to do is stand there and light your incense, give whatever special offerings you have for the dead. And this gets tricky. This is where you have to create your own spell or your own calling for your ancestors into the dead. Okay? Now, there's not a specific spell for how to, all this, that, and the other. I mean, they say there is one, but it's for a dead god, and it's for something that I'm not even going to get into in this video because it has nothing to do with the ancestors. It has nothing to do with the GIDIM. So you're going to have to sit there and refer to them as the GIDIM to keep it within guidelines and within, the current of the Simon Necronomicon. Refer to them as the GIDIM. Sit there and say, "O ye mighty GIDIM, ye who have walked before me, you who have come before me, you who shall come after me, yea, thee and I are one." To show them, to recognize that you're both one and the same. The spirit travels and moves, then one day this dies and you too become a GIDIM. And with this in mind, what this does is you want to make sure that you say, "I call forth unto my ancestors, unto the mighty dead who have watched over my life, and those who have walked before me, those of sorcerer or priest blood, of those who have worked the Necronomicon." Because there are many, many practitioners, even since the books come out, that's died, so forth and so on. Think of their wisdom and their guidance, and their things in the afterlife, what they could bring back. And then what you want to do is you say, "I give to you this offering." And like I said, it's the incense. And then when you've lit that incense, sat there in just pitch darkness, just sit there and wait. Just wait. That's all you have to do. Because the dead, they take their time, but they're coming. They always come. It never fails. You don't have to visualize anything. You don't have to do anything fancy or special. The dead come when called, especially if done properly. If because you've got the queen saying, "Okay, well, this one is following the ways of the what? The covenant that you swore if you've been doing these workings." And so that gives you the automatic right and power as a priest, sorcerer, to be able to do these works, to be able to call upon the dead, to be able to call upon dead gods, all these things. And once you've done this, just wait. And when they come, you'll either feel them, sense them, see them. There's no telling. Even if you feel as if you had no experience and you sat there, you don't want to keep this experience up more than 40, 45 minutes after you've done the thing about Namtar and the closing of it, okay? So 45 minutes after you've done that, which is the initial calling, you need to kind of be shutting it down. And at what point you need to say, "I thank the mighty GIDIM for thy appearance and thy aid here tonight." Because whether you feel, sense, or know that they're there, they're there. It's not about whether they did or they didn't hear you or did not come. They did. Now, whether or not they'll let you know they came may be a totally different thing. And they have their own reasons for that, for whatever it is. Maybe they don't think, "Oh, well, if he knows about us, he's going to totally change and he's not going to, blah, blah, blah." This can't happen. All kinds of things can happen. There'll be all kinds of reasons for why they do this. The dead are a little bit, they know things that we don't know. That's why sometimes we can call upon the dead to share with us secrets long forgotten, so forth, so on. So anyway, so 45 minutes later, it's time to close it down. So what you do is you give thanks to the mighty GIDIM for being there. Give them your thanks, your appreciation, your gratitude, your love. But you give them license to depart unto their own realm, back into the land of Kutha, of Mataru. And then what you do is then you want to go and you want to thank Ereshkigal for having aided you, for having shown you kindness and allowed you to communicate with your ancestors. And you don't have to go real fancy with it. Like I said, you didn't even have to with the GIDIM, but you have to give them a license to depart. You have to, because you don't want to trap any kind of spirit, not even the dead. The dead come and go as they will. But you don't want to be behind how they're trapped in a place when it's unlawful that they be kept beyond a certain time, which I really won't get into that. Most of you out there should already know all that or why you don't hold a spirit past a certain point. But anyway, so as soon as you gave the license to depart and you thanked Ereshkigal for her kindness and her aid in your magical workings, then the next thing to do is to face the west again, stand up. See your hands, a triangle spread apart, pressed into the two halves of the star. Bring them back together until it's a triangle. And you can see the two halves of the star made one again. And then with the power hand, take and trace, closing the gap between, making sure that all the points are connected, that it's a whole star. Now, here's the next part, and this is tricky. A lot of people don't know this. Okay. So that middle symbol right there, that's the elder sign. Now, what's so important about the elder sign is that once you've closed the gate and you've sealed it, you need to seal it with the elder sign. And the reason why is because it's a sign of magic of Enki, and him being of the twin waters. There's a secret there that I won't go into, but you need to trace it over the 5-point star and seal it with your might. See it. Close your eyes when your hands project forward. Close your eyes and see it most perfectly until it glows and envelops it, until it becomes a solid wall. Now, then it's time you can turn around, come back to your altar, balance and center yourself. Just kind of relax and let go just a little bit. Now, then it's time to give thanks to each of the 4 quarters, releasing them. Now, you remember you went from west, south, east, north, right? You want to start in the north. Give thanks unto the guardian spirit, Ooster of the north, for having gave her aid and her strength and might to your ritual. Once again, go to the east. Give Sedge your thanks, your appreciation, gratitude for lending strength and aid to your magic. Give them license to depart into their realm. And if you want to end it with perfect love, perfect justice, go for it. Do whatever feels comfortable and right with you. Then south, do the same. The name is Lamas. Go west, do the same. And for it's Natig. But once again, giving thanks to these. Now, once you've done this, you want to turn around and thank your watcher for his appearance, because like I said, it's done just like regular spell working out of the Necronomicon ritual work. Give thanks to your flamboyant. Give thanks to your watcher. Turn around, and it's time to give thanks and release to the fire god. Now, here's the very last part. Wow, I think I lost it. Now, after you give me just 1 minute, y'all. Here we go. Now, after you've done this, and before you've totally, because you've released everything, and you released the fire god, but before you close down your circle, turn to page 110, the preliminary purification invocation. Bright one of the heavens, wise Ishtar, mistress of the gods, yes, truly yes. Now, there's this thing called the posture of Shamash. What's the posture of Shamash? Posture of Shamash is a golden orb visualized above your head. And the posture is if you're standing up and you hold your hands in a solid sphere like this. And for this, you want to be facing east, because Shamash is from the east. So even though you were facing west this whole time, you want to turn around to the east, put your hands above your head in the shape of a sphere, like you're holding a ball above your head, and visualize it as solid gold, and it's dripping. And as it drips, it hits the crown of your head until it covers your body. And when you've done the posture and you've seen the visualization and you can feel it as you're breathing it in, then you do the preliminary purification on page 110 at each of your chakras, starting from the crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, right there at the stomach, then at the groin, then at the root. Now, what I like to do is I picked up something from Christopher Penzak that I really, really like. It works really well with the preliminary purification, and it doesn't mess with the energy. Take your hands from behind your head, feel it as if you're taking and wiping yourself down from the back of your neck, down over your body. I release all that does not serve. One more time. I'm at one with the universe. I'm at one with myself. Now, what this does is whatever the purification didn't get rid of, this allows it to shake off the rest of the aura so that nothing clings to you. Okay? Now then, you can close down your circle. Okay? But remember, you cast it counterclockwise, right? Well, you want to cast it clockwise now, so you want to untrace it clockwise. And that, my brothers and sisters, my fellow practitioners, is how you work with the ancestors. This is how you call your ancestors, the mighty GIDIM. This is how you call the spirits of your blood lineage, so forth and so on. This is how you do it according to the Simon Necronomicon. I hope this has been helpful. I do appreciate each and every single one of you that made it out for this. And I wish each and every single one of you peace, blessings, and power. Till next time.